I would now like to ask the President of the Australian BPD Foundation, Ms Julien McDonald, to join me on the stage. We applaud her dedication and commitment to getting the past out of the present, dispelling the myths and negative culture that has developed around BPD, and in helping to create a more realistic culture of hope and optimism based on the reality that with access to appropriate treatment and support, the prognosis is positive. People can and do recover and lead meaningful and creative lives. Please welcome Julien to the stage.
Thank you, Hayley, and thank you, Marie, for the warm welcome to country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we are meeting on and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you also to the Honourable Alana Closey for your encouraging and kind words. It is great to have such interest from parliamentarians as demonstrated by their presence here today. Sad that they need to leave, but we know that they have important business that they're actually called to do and are regretful about that. Not about doing business, but about needing to leave here. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for coming to our 7th National Conference. I'd like to tell you a bit about the Australian BPD Foundation. It's made up of a mix of people with experiences of BPD, family members, carers and mental health professionals, and we see that balance as really important. The mission of the Foundation is to change the current negative culture to a positive one, and to advocate for increased access to evidence-based service for people with BPD and their families and carers. We do this in a variety of ways, through information provision, education, awareness-raising activities and systemic advocacy. We have an informative website, monthly e-bulletin, quarterly newsletter, and our annual National BPD conferences, which move around Australia, and we're delighted for the first time to be here in WA. The Foundation has formed a partnership with the Mental Health Professional Network and Spectrum Personality Disorder Service for Victoria to develop a series of webinars around BPD, to expand the delivery of professional development education through building local mental health professional networks throughout Australia, and also creating a virtual online library. The first of these webinars, we're very excited to tell you, goes live at 7:15 on the 31st of October, and we hope you'll tune into that. The information about this is available at the Australian BPD Foundation table. So please pick up a pamphlet of that and you'll see how to register and connect with that webinar. I'm also really pleased to tell you that the project was made possible by funding from the National Mental Health Commission, and a big thank you to Peggy Brown. Excuse me sort of coughing and spluttering a little bit. I've had this cough for 8 weeks now. If anyone knows the cure, please tell me. The garlic and rum did not work. The Foundation also participated in lobbying to have a National BPD Awareness Week declared. This lobbying was successful, with the Australian Senate declaring the first week of October to be National BPD Awareness Week. And thank you to Janet Martin, patron of the Foundation, to Andrew Chapman from Origin, and also to the National Education Alliance for BPD Australia, who were all part of that important lobbying process. This year, the Foundation took the lead in coordinating and encouraging BPD awareness-raising activities around Australia. We were building on the strong collaborative framework established by the National Education Alliance for BPD in Australia, which was also assisted by Guy Ellis, who is a West Australian, who's now a member of the WA branch of the Foundation, which was recently launched. The Foundation is in the process of developing branches around Australia, which are vital in helping us carry out our work nationally. We have branches in Victoria, South Australia and New South Wales, and are delighted to now have a branch in WA, which was launched as part of the BPD Awareness Week activities. And the development of the branch has received great support, is receiving great support from Mental Illness Fellowship WA, which we're really delighted about. And you'll hear a little bit more about that later in the day. So we hope you'll all become members of the Foundation to strengthen our work and to help us work really from stigma to strength. I think we've made some advances, but we've got a long way to go to really make BPD a priority for mental health service delivery in WA and in Australia. Thank you for coming to our conference. Thank you to the West Australian Association for Mental Health for great partnership in organising this conference, which I know you're going to find informative and I believe also inspiring.
Thank you, Julien, for your support and continued commitment to improving the lives of those who identify as having BPD, their carers and families. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rod Astbury, Chief Executive Officer of the West Australian Association for Mental Health. The WA Association for Mental Health is the peak body for the community mental health sector in WA and exists to champion mental wellbeing, recovery and citizenship.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here and a privilege for us to be co-hosting this event. And I'd like to again acknowledge the dignitaries, our mental health leaders, our co-hosts, the Australian BPD Foundation, our elders, today's speakers, and conference sponsors for being here. I wonder if I could ask how many people in the room are from out of Western Australia. Would you put your hand up if you're from out of Western Australia? Thank you, and a special welcome to you to our great state. And it's I can also reinforce the message if you do get a chance to step outside and walk by the lake. It's a great experience. So, our role as the peak body for community mental health in WA is to champion wellbeing, recovery and citizenship. Through our extensive membership of WA organisations and individuals, we provide leadership, representation and advocacy for those people and organisations, as well as training and development to around 3,000 people every year. And we also take great pride in co-hosting and organising events such as this one. Our other role is to host Mental Health Week in Western Australia every year, and this year was the 50th year of Mental Health Week. And it's always a great opportunity to not only focus on raising awareness about mental health issues in the community and the reduction of stigma, but also to reflect on how far we've come. As the theme of today's conference is from stigma to strength, It's interesting to reflect on what progress we've made over 50 years in that journey. How far have we come in addressing stigma? When Mental Health Week first started in 1967, the world was a very different place. There was very little discussion about mental health issues, and people who experienced them were likely to be labelled, shamed and shunned, and often locked away in institutions. If you had a lived experience of BPD, many years before it was recognised as a disorder, your isolation would likely to have been even greater due to the lack of understanding of the impact it can have on the individuals and those around them. You may have been labelled as an attention seeker, reckless, over-emotional, etc., etc. So where are we in 2017? Well, let's acknowledge today that almost 50% of people will experience a mental health issue in their lifetime. Talking and action, recovery and connection have largely replaced silence, shame and avoidance. It's heartening that in the last decade there's been a groundswell of support for mental health in the general community, in workplaces, in government, and as more people talk about its importance and it starts to take action. Attitudes to support have changed exponentially in that time. We understand that mental health challenges are a normal part of life and that they're viewed as a recovery journey with everyone experiencing theirs in different ways and there being no right or wrong way to experience recovery. We recognise that contemporary mental health services should promote inclusion, self-determination and choice for people that they support. Embedding culturally secure and respectful, non-discriminatory principles in the design of services is also considered critical, and a holistic approach that encompasses co-design and co-production incorporates social, medical and psychological elements, and rather than a medical-only approach. Rather than institutions, community support should now be the focus of appropriate ways to respond to the majority of mental health issues. Back in 1967, that world would not have been known. So we've made great progress. There's tangible momentum to talk about and take action on mental health in our community. The internet has brought many ways of connecting, many new ways that are both positive and bring risks as well. We know also, though, that there's an urgent need to make more progress, and in particular, to improve the access in the community for people to the supports and services that they need. In WA alone, we need to know that only 22% of the demand for community support services is currently being met in the state. People with BPD still tell us of experiences they've had in the community within their support networks, and often with medical professionals who don't know enough about their condition, do not take the right steps to address it, or to learn enough about the disorder to be able to respond appropriately. It's a great concern to us that people are reaching out for help, but too often when they reach out for support, they're not able to access it. So this conference, just like Mental Health Week, is a celebration of the importance of everybody standing together to support each other, to talk about BPD and remove the stigma that's still attached to and carrying over from the past. We're not there yet, but events such as these are critical in raising awareness and reducing the stigma. Knowledge is power, and listening and collaboration, such as we're doing today, are ways to ensure a way forward that's inclusive of everyone in our society, regardless of their mental health status. Thank you very much.